Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today with my July wrap-up and my August TBR. Well, hi Watson. Gonna be a little guest star? Ooh. You say hi? Say hi? No, he's too distracted by everything going on right now. But isn't he cute? Aww. Hmm? You gonna stay up here? Maybe? Alright guys, so I had a decent reading month for July considering I was on vacation, and I always think that I'm gonna read so much on vacation and then I end up not, and I end up being busy on vacation. So let's get on into my July wrap-up. So, oh, also in July we had a booktubeathon and I had my mother-in-law staying with me, so it was really fun. We all three did the booktubeathon, but again, I thought I was going to read so much and I did not read as much as I thought. So clearly my expectations need to be lowered. So for this month, I started off reading this one and then I just kind of slowed. It is a very good book and I'm going to finish it because I'm not letting myself not finish it. But it is Molokai and this is by Alan Brennert. And this book is all about a girl who is very young and starts off and she finds out that she has leprosy and she is sent to Molokai, and she like grows up and she thinks that like this is where her life is going to end, and then she like lives quite, I mean I'm only halfway through it, but she lives quite a long time through it. It's sharing her experiences on Molokai and being considered a dirty leper and how people treated her, and it's such an interesting story, and he did a really good job about putting himself in these shoes as a girl on Molokai. So I'm excited to finish this. I have about halfway through it. I've got about 200 pages left, so I definitely will finish it, but it's definitely been slow going because obviously, as you can imagine, having leprosy, the story is quite sad in times, so I kind of needed to take a break from it. So I guess this is sort of wrap-up, sort of going to be finished in my TBR pile, so Molokai is sort of my number one for my TBR pile. Next up, I brought this along and I wanted to pick it up because I just wanted something fluffy, and after reading that for a good chunk on Hawaii when I was visiting, that I needed something to be fun and fluffy for me. So I picked up this series. It's a binding of all three, and I couldn't resist because it's so cheap, and I actually don't own the first book, and I actually read the first book while I was on vacation in Hawaii. And so I read This Summer I Turned Pretty, and this is by Jenny Han. She is like the queen of contemporary, at least one of them. Her and Stephanie Perkins are like my all-time favorites. It does fluffy so well and so interesting, so I recommend checking them out if you love contemporaries. I did give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars because it is such a guilty pleasure, and I'm pretty sure I used to rate this 5 out of 5 stars, but the more times I reread it, the more I'm taking like a harder look at the story, not just like the enjoyment of reading it. When I was reading through these, there was just some lines in this that were just a little bit too fluffy, like too much for me to handle, so that's why it's a 3.5 out of 5 stars. But if you go into it as something fun and fluffy and don't take it too seriously and critical, I think that you'll really enjoy this if you haven't picked these up. They're really fun, light, easy reads that you will fly through. Speaking of fun and easy to fly through, I picked this one up because booktubeathon, and I do not regret it. It was so much fun. I picked up Geekarella, and this is by Ashley Poston, and this is Cinderella meets Comic-Con, and this is what I loved about this book. I loved the Comic-Con aspects of it. I love that we get into the nerd culture, and I mean, it's pretty embedded. I mean, it's all surrounding that, so it's very embedded in this. The only things I didn't like about it was the Cinderella aspect of it, because Cinderella, I think, is just so overplayed that I went into it knew that it was about Cinderella, but I didn't realize that I was going to dislike the Cinderella aspect of it, because the Comic-Con aspect of it shined so bright in my mind. So I loved all of the nerd culture in this, but I could have done without the Cinderella aspect. Like, just give me a book about Comic-Con and the geekery that was in this, and I really enjoyed this entire aspect of it. This is, if you've seen the Cinderella story with Hilary Duff, it is very similar to that one. than what is in this. So I recommend go checking it out. I think I gave this one a 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars because it's so much fun, but again, the Cinderella aspect of it kind of killed me. But luckily, it's only in the beginning of this book, so if you didn't like the Cinderella aspect of it, it's only like really in the first chunk, and then the rest of it is like all about Comic-Con, and it's great. So I recommend go checking it out. It is a very fun, fast read. I think I finished this in like a day and a half. Next up, I read The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy. And guys, when I said in my wrap-up, I'm gonna read this one definitely for sure, and then I'll probably pick up the second one, or the third one this month, how did no one comment telling me, hey crazy lady, this is over 700 pages. Are you sure you're going to finish that one and go to the other one that's also 700 pages? So I didn't realize, like, this doesn't look like a 700 page book. So I was reading through it, and I was on Goodreads, and I was updating that I was on like page 400 something and then it says out of 500 because I was on the wrong edition on Goodreads. So I thought, I was like, yeah, I'm like I'm like almost done, you know? And then I looked and I'm like, I have 760 pages. No, I'm like halfway there. So regardless, off of my rant here, this is pretty slow moving. Fans don't kill me. I still rated it a 4 out of 5 stars, I think, because I'm not into the characters. And I don't get me wrong, I have favorites. Like, I love Ellen, I love Vin, but there's so many different side characters that I just wanted more character development and more character driven, and that is what I gravitate towards in stories, is character driven stories, not plot driven stories. This is definitely a plot driven story. It is about the war that's going on, and I felt like so much of it could have been shorter, and there's a lot of like just talking back and forth, and I'm like, just get on with it. Like, it was too slow moving for me, but it was still like, it's still such a good storyline. And the last chunk of the book, like probably like the last like 150 maybe 200 pages flew by, because that's when shit actually got like going. And that is like, I was like reading it, and I was like, I didn't want to put it down. Like, it was so good at the end, and it made me pick up the last one right away, and I wasn't expecting to because of how slow this one took me. But I think the third one is going to be by far the best because of events that happened in the last like chunk of this book. So it is such a cool world. If you guys don't know what Mistborn is about, it is about this world where they ingest metals, and they have different powers, and they can push and pull these metals out of their bodies and do different things with them. So there's things you could push them off the ground, have the metals off the ground, and then you'll be able to fly through the air type of way, or like jump really far. And there's also way like to control metals. There is you can enhance your hearing. There's so many cool powers that are associated with this world that Brandon Sanderson does really well about building these worlds and having these powers and making them so intricate. But I think he loses points in the character development area, because I don't feel for the characters as much as I do in YA things, and that could be because I don't read a lot of adult fantasy, that there is such a big chunk that I am not used to having that world building aspect with it, that in my opinion the characters were dragging a little bit. And so I do have favorites in this series, but it's not, I just wanted more. I wanted to know more about all of the different side characters. If we know about this whole band of characters, I wanted to know their backstories as well, and not so much about the war stuff. So that is where he got docked, but it's still a good series, and I recommend checking it out if that sounds interesting to you, especially if you like high fantasy. And the very first book that I finished in the month of July is The Winter's Crime by Marie Rutowski. This is in the Winter's Curse trilogy, and I was so excited for this book because Winter's Crime, or Winter's Curse, was one of my favorite reads that I had read like in a while, and because it had the political mindset, and it had the world was, I like the world, and the relationships and the character building and the witty banter, like all of it. It was a 5 out of 5 read for me. I absolutely loved it. I picked this one up and was sorely disappointed. I think I rated this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. They changed everything in this, and I think I remember talking to you guys about this in my last wrap-up, is that where I was at I was like halfway through when I was telling you about it, and it just isn't the same. When you change the world, you change the characters that they're interacting with, and it just loses so much because this girl is plucked out of her environment, so she's still the same girl, but the environment changes, so she doesn't act the same. So you don't have all the stuff that I loved about in the first book. So I need to pick up the last one. I don't actually own the last one. I need to get it, but I'm real nervous that this is gonna screw it up. And like, the first one was so good, so we'll find out if the last one will redeem itself. Let me know down below if this book or this series gets better, if you share the same viewpoints as me, or what, should I just pretend like it's a one book series or one book story? So little disappointed about this one, but what can you do? I still have hope that it's gonna get better. So that one is all for my July wrap up, and let's get on into my August TBR. So like I said, I've got to finish this one. I'm almost done, so I will finish this one. I've got 200 pages left, and that is Molokai. And like I mentioned before, I went ahead and picked up the Hero of Ages. This is the third one in this book, and it is already fantastic. I'm excited. I'm already like 100 pages in. And this is another chunky book, so I'm not overestimating how much I'm going to read this month. So there's still 724 pages in this one, so I will be happy if I finish this one. I am listening to it on audiobook, and it took me a while to get used to from the first book, but now the third book, I like the different voices that he does, but they all sound very similar. Again, I'm excited to get through this because I think this one is going to be the best one yet out of the whole series, and I think I'm going to be really interested in it because they are developing the characters in this one, so I'm really excited to see where this goes and how everything changes. Next up, I've been craving some graphic novels, and that is Snot Girl. I'm gonna pick this one up. I talked about this one in my haul video. This one just sounds like so fun. It is about a fashion blogger, and she may or may not have killed somebody, and I think there's something with amnesia in it. I've heard Allie over at the Hardback Hoarder talk about this one, and the artwork is just stunning, so I'm excited to pick this one up, kind of going in blind a little bit, but I kind of like that. It makes it better when I don't have any expectations, so I'm excited to pick this one up and fly through this one. And last but not least, what I really want to get to is The House of Night. This is the first one in the series, and I got recommended this a long time ago, and I thought I was maybe going to pick it up this past month in July, and I didn't, and vampires and school, and maybe getting through school and becoming a vampire, maybe not. I love all of this, boarding schools and vampires. I mean, buzzwords. I'm totally down for this. And that is all that I'm saying I'm picking up right now. I've been reading a lot more adult fiction right now, so I might pick up more YA. I have quite a bit of books to choose from for my haul, so we'll see. I'm kind of gonna do a mood reading type of thing for August. But that is all. I know this was a very long video, so thank you all for sticking through it. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!